Welcome to Your Thoughts, Your Reality with Michael Cole, the podcast that shines a compassionate light on the journey of veterans battling through life's challenges. Michael is a dual elite certified neuroencoding specialist in coaching and keynote training presentations, dedicated to guiding military veterans as they navigate the intricate pathways of post-deployment life. Join him as we delve into the profound realm of neuroencoding science, empowering these brave individuals to conquer universal battles, procrastination, self-doubt, fear, and more. Together, let's uncover the strength within you to re-engage with families and society, forging a new path forward.
Hello, everybody. So today we have a great guest. I'm super excited about this. Joe's a great guy. We have Joe Kramer. He is a U.S. Military Academy West Point graduate, class of 2016, dual major in German and Russian. He's a former Army Ordnance officer raised in a military family overseas in Germany and Croatia. He's weathered multiple post-Army layoffs, then intentionally pivoted toward work aligned with purpose and family needs. This is so important, everybody. We're going to really dive into this. It's really tough for a lot of people, and I actually am working with a veteran right now that doesn't know what to do when they get out. You know, they're reintegrating into civilian society has challenges, and not having a plan for something you're going to love when you get out shouldn't be one of them. And we're going to really dive into this today. And of course, he's an advocate for veterans charting non-traditional career paths, choosing meaning over expectations. So, Joe, thank you for being on. I'm super excited to have this conversation. Will you tell us just a little more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Joe Kramer. I know we'll kind of get into my story a little bit early on. So, right now I live in Windsor, Colorado, about an hour north of Denver, with my wife and 4 kids. I work for Lockheed Martin, and then, kind of on the side, even more into that meaning realm. I am the founder of Rock On. And so that is all about, there's a lot of fitness, but also personal development to that. And again, kind of why I advocate for veterans to blaze their own trail versus kind of getting stuck into some of the, narrow career paths that they feel like they have to.
You get into those funnels, right? The expectation or whatever it is, instead of really kind of thinking outside the box of something you're going to love. So that's awesome. When you said Rock On, I thought you were teaching guitar or something.
Yeah. It's definitely key to, I guess, make sure you pronounce the U instead of the O. but I mean, I don't know, very similar energy,
Yeah. Rock on, got it. Yeah. So Joe, before we get started, I just want everybody to on the top right hand corner of, I always do this wrong. Let's do it that way. Top right hand corner of your screen, there's a blue QR code. It takes you to empowerperformancestrategies.com for people listening on the podcast forums later on. It's empowerperformancestrategies.com. It takes you to our website. There's all kinds of links and resources and groups on Facebook, etc. Some books I've written, really just resources for veterans and their families. Join the mission. Come be part of our community, if you will. It's a really great place to be. So with that said, Joe, let's ready to dive in.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So let's talk about identity whiplash. How did the medical discharge for, I believe it was hearing, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. How did that reshape your identity, officer to civilian, if you will, overnight? And what grief or relief did you have to acknowledge before you could really move forward?
Yeah. So it was really difficult for me. The whole process leading up to the discharge was very frustrating, because being an Army officer was a goal, and something that I've been working towards for over a decade of my life.
Right.
I knew very early on that's what I wanted to do. My dad was an Army officer, and my earliest memories of him were when he was a Special Forces A team leader. And so um, feeling like I was having the rug pulled out from under me was definitely um, a challenge to deal with, because of how everything unfolded. When I did get the news that, yes, you're being discharged, it was almost a relief.
Mhm.
But then once I was actually out, it all kind of came rushing back that
I'm
like
sure.
identity just it isn't there anymore. Um, and something that I struggled with a lot too was because I hadn't been in for very long, I felt like I hadn't done anything.
Mhm.
Uh, my unit was in the process of training up to go on a rotation over to Kuwait. And so I was, heavily involved with my guys, like gearing up for that in the midst of my medical board proceedings. And then ultimately, they all left, and I stayed behind and was discharged. Um, and so it was actually a conversation that I had with my dad that kind of helped me work through that. In that, less than 1% of people raise their hand to even try or volunteer to serve. And he's like,
Absolutely.
that's all that matters. It's like you have some control to a degree over what you do and your career path in the military, but there are a lot of variables and things outside of your control. So you really it's it doesn't serve you um moving forward to think that way, to have that
Absolutely.
connotation around your service. So, as long as you showed up every day and did your job and did it to the best of your ability, and weren't like actively trying to be a bad person, like you should be proud of what you did. Um,
I love your dad. I'm just going to say that now, because that is
I do
some
too.
literally, Joe. That's some of the best advice people can have.
And I
It's
think,
just yeah. Go ahead, please.
well, and I think for me, coming from someone who, in my view, has done so much,
Mm.
you know, he is a Green Beret, has done things overseas that some people may never know about, like cool, you know, Hollywood type stuff, I'm sure. And for him to be the one that's like, you served, like
Amen.
you put up your hand, you served. That's all that
Amen.
matters.
Yeah,
So,
that's fantastic. And Joe, your dad's going to be on tomorrow, just so you know.
uh, well, I mean, true to Army Special Force, like he is a quiet professional.
I'm playing, obviously. And we've had SEALs on and that kind of stuff as well. So, but I was just playing with you. If he
No.
wants to be on, absolutely, no doubt. But I was just making it funny. So, so how did, first of all, the mindset that you were in, as humans, we do that a lot to ourselves. And it's fantastic that your dad was there to say, no, hold on, look at what if you looked at it this way and changed the trajectory, because you could have went in a very dark way, right?
Yeah.
And you hear about that more often than not. And so it's a beautiful thing that, let me go back one step. When you lose your camaraderie from the military, even when you're discharged normally or retire or whatever the case may be, that's tough, because you lose your brothers, you lose the people that you count on the most around you. And so when you are just removed like instantly, it's a
Yeah.
whole different game. So it could have went in a dark place. And so I want people to really hear this right now. It's a choice. And thank goodness he had that mentor that he respects, loves, all those things, to really help him to change that perspective, because it changed his life. and look what he's doing now. It's fantastic. So I'm really I very happy and thank God that your dad was there and was the right person at the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about, if we will, where did you go from there? What made you go into the different realms, right? Because again, today's really about finding that fulfillment and changing potentially a different career path for that, and kind of the thought process that took you down that path.
Sure. So the first few years after I got out of the army were kind of tumultuous, because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Um, and I didn't have the benefit, like you said, of, people kind of exiting the military and more traditional means. There are all kinds of programs nowadays, um, to help veterans translate their
Mhm.
skills into, whether it's a trades job, whether it's, almost like an internship, if, something in consulting or the tech space is more what you're after. Those programs were starting to happen right around the
Mhm.
time when I was getting out, but I wasn't able to take advantage of them. So really the big driver for me was just finding something, that would support my family.
Right.
We had our oldest daughter, Mia, at the time. She's right about a year old. And then as I was getting out, my wife and I found out that we were having twins. So again, that was kind of lighting a
Woohoo!
fire under me. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like,
Let's
yeah,
go.
two more. um, so, right out of the gate, there really wasn't the searching for purpose in the work that I was doing beyond trying to, put a roof over my family's head,
Right.
and food on the table. And the first job that I ended up accepting, um, really didn't even do that. And so it took a few, I ended up being laid off, from that job after about a year and a half. The next job I had was something that I actually did have kind of an interest and a passion for. And when I first joined, the company seemed to be the kind of company that you show up and you're like, oh wow, this place is really cool. Like, this is a place I would like to work. Um, and 3 months later, the pandemic hit. Um, and instead of going into the office that has a gym and all these people that I'm like, wow, love working with, um, all that went away.
Yeah.
It's, completely work from home. And, understandably, over the next, year and a half, that company kind of had to change and evolve how it did things. And so, ended up being laid off again. And the next job after that, um,
Joe, really quick, I'm sorry to
yeah,
interrupt, but I want to ask you something.
sure.
So, in your life right now, I'm sorry, in your story in your life right now, at that point, were you just going, damn, what the hell? What was kind of going through your head? Because I kind of want people to understand and connect with, hey, yeah, I get that. And I've been there too, or I am there. So what was kind of going through your head at that point? And we're not done yet.
Yeah, it was, I think especially, um, through the pandemic,
Mhm.
because so much had been changing, and I guess all the negativity and things that were kind of going around, like, it was tough because it was just kind of like a wow, one like that one more thing.
Right.
Um, and I guess looking back, I've always been a pretty optimistic and upbeat person. You can ask my wife. I think sometimes, it gets on her nerves a little bit.
I promise, to your wife, if you're listening, I promise you prefer it this way than the other way.
It's good though. She's definitely a bit more of a realist, and so it helps keep me grounded. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'd be off in Joe's world, as we call it. Um,
So you're feeling beat down and just, man, what's next, right? I mean, kind of where you're at.
yeah, and I think something that was helpful for me is kind of having a short-term memory of that happened, like, and now I have a problem. Okay, let's focus on the solution. Um,
Amen.
and I think right about this time, I got the Daily Stoic as a gift. And that's something that to this day, it book's starting to look a little ratty now after 4 or 5 years.
That's a
Um,
beautiful thing, my friend. That means it means something.
yeah, but just kind of that, um, like that happened, and there's no sense in really beating myself up or dwelling on, what could have happened. It's like they they made a choice. They let whatever circumstances happened. I got laid off. I don't have a job. I still have a wife and children that I need to take care of. So what do I need to do next? And
And
so
that
just
and that's beautiful. I love that you said exactly that, because it's just about being resourceful. Look, this happened. I can be a victim and go downhill, or I can just keep moving forward. So
and
that's fantastic. Yeah.
and something too that was also sort of helped is, with each career change, move, if you will, um, it gave, like, I ended up getting paid more each time. So like the first job I had right out of the military, like one of the thing, like it really didn't even help me support my family. The next job after that was a little bit better. I had a little bit more purpose. And then the job after that, the purpose kind of went away again, but I was getting paid almost like half again as much as I was making at the job that I had just gotten laid off from. So I kind of saw it as more of like okay, I could land a better opportunity next.
Right. Amen.
Um,
Yeah.
and so, you know, um, about a year and a half ago, no, 2 years, um, was laid off for the final time. And it was during that point, I was getting my MBA at CSU,
Mhm.
and kind of leaned into some of their um, employment resources, and ultimately ended up getting a job with Lockheed, where I'm getting paid the most I've ever been paid. Have kind of that, you know, the closest thing to purpose and a connection to what I'm doing on a daily basis since I left the Army. Um, and yeah, it's awesome. I had, great work-life balance and flexibility to, not just provide for my family financially, but also like be there for kids' activities. If, they get sick and need to be brought home from school, like I can be
Yeah.
the dad that goes and picks them up. So,
That's
um,
fantastic.
and then also the freedom to, you know, pour energy into Ruck On and do things like this, like things that I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And you know what? I mean, the financial freedom, the time freedom to be able to go and do things that mean something to you, like being able to be the dad to pick your kid up. So many other
Mhm.
people don't get that opportunity. It's fantastic, man. And it's, it's a testament to keep on moving, keep on moving. Things will change. People get
Mhm.
very stuck in the winter, and there's 4 seasons, and they continue to kind of rotate. And knowing that pattern, and knowing, okay, well, things aren't great right now, but spring's coming. It's not going to be rainy and gloomy. This too will pass. And just that the fortitude that you had to keep moving and keep moving forward is fantastic, and that's why you're where you are now. So I congratulate you. I celebrate
Thank
you,
you.
truly, because so many other people don't, and they give up and play victim mode. So amen. Good for you.
Thank
So
you.
let's talk about Ruck On a little bit, can we?
Sure.
Yeah. So you're finding your fulfillment, your purpose. I know you're jazzed about it. So talk more about what is Ruck On. Let's start there if you can.
Sure. So it's evolved. I started it way back in 2019, when I was first kind of getting back into fitness, because that was something else that I lost. And I think a lot of veterans can probably say that they've experienced this. Is, you're in the military and you more or less have to be in shape. Um, most units, you have PT every day unless you're injured, sick, or something. And even then, like, you're working out every single
Right.
day. You've got height and weight standards that you have to meet on a regular basis. You have a PT test that you have to take. And so you go out into the civilian world and you don't have that structure anymore. You don't have that. It might not be the best motivator, but it works. Um,
Well, here's the thing, right? Is physical exercise, all of the uh, emotional benefits from it, I mean, mindset benefits from it are off the charts. I mean, if you exercise, even walking every day, you
mhm.
you are going to be in such a better mental state because of it. Just walking for half an hour. So, what you're doing is awesome. So it's not. I wouldn't say, the physical parts of what you did in the military, and then the physical parts when you are out that you're choosing to do on your own is even better. So let's
Absolutely. And
let's talk about that more. Yeah, please.
I would say too, if there's uh don't let don't let the military color what you try and pick up in the civilian world. Like, I've always loved hockey, and so thankfully for me, that was something I could always fall back on. Um, Especially out here living in Colorado, like, there's plenty of hockey up here, so check. Um, but as far as like Ruck On goes, o- outside of hockey, because I mean, just doing that once or twice a week is helpful. Not just physically, but mentally, like you said. And I think in some cases, it helped me more mentally than physically. Um, but I started rucking, and it can be a lot more enjoyable when it's just you picking whatever weight you want, whatever route you want. You can listen to music if you want, versus all of the constraints that are
Right.
put on you when you have to do it in the military. Is it's going to be this much weight, we're going to go this far, or we're going to go this way,
Yeah.
and you can't listen to music, and all the choice gets removed from you.
Right.
So, um I got into rucking because it was an easy and relatively cheap way to kind of kickstart my fitness journey. Um, and then as I started doing that, kind of sharing some insights and thoughts that um, I had people like reaching out to me like, "Hey, I see that like you're rucking and you're getting back into fitness. Like, how can I do that? Like, what are some things that you suggest?" And so then I turned it more towards trying to help people and educate them on the benefits of rucking. Um, and then from there, just fitness in general. Um, and as I was doing my own personal development, kind of realizing that it was all interconnected, really, of, you know, to move forward in life towards success, your goals, dreams, whatever that might look like. Um, you know, to me, fitness, nutrition, and mindset are kind of the three key building blocks. Um, and so that's kind of what I've laid as a foundation of Rock On, and now I kind of use it as a bucket because um, I just want to inspire other people to go after their goals and dreams, whatever that might look like. So, like for me, um, after some of the development that I've done, like I realized that I have a story from playing hockey at West Point that I want to write a book about. So I've been
Fantastic.
actively taking steps to make that happen.
Yeah,
And
that's the fantastic. I sorry to interrupt, but we only have a couple of minutes left.
yeah,
So I love how you and everybody, please again listen, how you translate your successes into life. I think it's awesome how you just keep moving forward and doing that. So with that said, I do want to touch base on before we go, and I know I'm going to ask I'm going to ask you for your 3 tips to get veterans and their families further faster. So I want to touch base on a couple thoughts real quick on
yeah.
finding that passion, that fulfillment in your career. Some thoughts on how to kind of look for that to navigate into a career that you're going to love.
Yeah. So I think something for me, something that I would suggest is try and find people. It's great if you can find a veteran who's doing something that you think you might want to do. Um, I know that there are a lot of, um, there are veterans and resources out there that kind of try and funnel veterans to certain career paths because they can be very successful and very lucrative, but they aren't for everyone,
Mhm.
and they're not the only ways to be successful. And so for me, I was fortunate to, as I was kind of stumbling my way through things, coming across veterans who, some of them were just doing completely different things. They were in entrepreneurship or, pursuing something way outside the norm. And then I also came across a number of veterans who they might have been working in a kind of traditional post-military career, whether tech or consulting, but they had something like Ruck On that they were working on the side,
Right.
um, and and at various levels of success. And so finding those veterans and kind of seeing that as a blueprint of, oh, I can have a successful like day job outside of the military that like takes care of everything, but then I can also pursue or experiment, test out different things on the side. I guess a good military analogy that I can see from it is almost like you've got to take care of your fob, your forward operating base, like make sure that's taken care of, and then you patrol out from there.
Yeah, I love
So,
that. I love
um,
that. Yeah, and sometimes that thing that you find passion in turns into a business
yeah,
and a full-time
absolutely.
business. I know a lot of people, including myself, that have have a passion and then they have a business. So don't if I can say, don't close yourself off to that possibility if it's something that you think you want to do full time. It's amazing all of the things that are out there now in the world we have today where you can make money doing something you love doing. So
Absolutely.
um, love that. So with that said, if you can give us 3 tips to get veterans and their families further faster, Joe.
Yeah. So I know two things that that helped me a lot. I mentioned the Daily Stoic.
Mhm.
And so kind of delving into stoicism has helped me a lot because it kind of helps you take life in the world as it is.
Mhm.
Great strategies on, here's the reality. How can you operate within that and, move forward? Um, but what I liked about the law of attraction is the idea that you have the power to create what you want in the world.
Absolutely.
Um, and so, I first read The Secret. And so I guess, tip number one would be to read.
Yeah,
So, a way I've had success with reading is just 10 pages every day.
that works. Absolutely.
Um, it sounds like such a small amount,
Mhm.
but if you can read 10 pages every day, and it also it kind of breaks things down because you're kind of forced to, within those 10 pages, if you're reading a book that's designed to help move you further in life, it kind of forces you to look in those 10 pages is like, what can I take away from this?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I think that's super important. Yeah, yeah,
um
absolutely.
and then journaling. It's something that my grandfather and my dad at various points growing up, I think, tried to get me into, but being a young, stubborn, hard-headed
Hockey player.
boy and young man, it's like, I don't, that sounds boring. I don't want to do that. But it's something that I have done for the past few years now. And I just kick myself because I'm like, I have a decent memory, but I'm like, man, it would be awesome if I could go back to that time period and have like what was I thinking about? What was I actually, I might know generally what I was doing in that time period, but like what was I doing on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah,
Um,
and yeah, I think it's really, you weren't ready yet, though, right? It came into you at
yeah,
the right time to do it. Now you appreciate it,
yep,
and the best time to start something you should have started 2 years ago is today.
right now.
Yeah,
Um,
so it's awesome you're doing it now. How about tip three?
Tip three, I would say focus on the positive. And I think I was reading a book that kind of goes into the law of attraction from a practical, like, how can you actually make this work for you? And one of the exercises I think is very helpful for people that aren't, maybe naturally like optimists or able to see the positive is like, make a list. If you're unhappy about something, whether it's your job, your life situation, whatever, is just make a list of all the things that you don't like about it or wish you could change. And then draw, arrows from each one across the page and flip it. It's like, okay, well, if you don't like X, then what's the flip side of that? If you don't like a boss
Love
that
that.
micromanages you, what is the opposite of that? Oh, a boss that trusts me, values my opinions and insights, things like that. And so then if you do that for every single thing across the page, what that does is it gives you a picture of what you do want. And so I think what I notice a lot is, and I think it explains quite a bit of the negativity in the world, not just for veterans, but just everyone, is people get hung up focusing on the negatives and what they don't want, and you just get more of that.
Yes, you do.
Versus, and I still have to do this with myself. Um, Even like little things I've noticed is like saying things like "no worries," it's not a big deal. Like, it sounds small, but just those tiny little shifts
Yeah,
kind of add up, and
it,
it's
it does.
saying
It,
like
does.
all good.
Yeah.
Um, and
There's a thing
so
that we do. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Please finish.
yeah, no, but I'm just, if you find that you struggle with negativity or seeing the positive, like, I think that's a great exercise. and again, going back to tip number 2, journal.
Yeah,
is like,
absolutely.
Then just reflect on that. Is like everything that you see that you don't like, okay, we'll flip it. And then focus on that positive piece more than the negative. And it's surprising that if you just keep focusing on that positive stuff, how it'll start cropping up in your life.
Absolutely. I love that. And we're way over time, but I just got to say this before we go. There's a highway in California that have all of these posts for electrical phone lines, that kind of stuff. And people focus on the posts, and it's one of the highest accident rates, because when people are focused on something, it takes them to that.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's literally there's so many crashes into these posts because people are seeing them, and they just start looking at them, and they start driving right to it, not even paying attention. So what you think about, you bring about, everybody. What you think about, you bring about. And if you focus on positivity, I'm going to say gratitude even as well.
Yes,
and you
absolutely.
celebrate that gratitude, you cannot be upset about something and grateful. And I promise you this, in closing, there's things to be grateful about. Whether it's I've got to brush my teeth this morning because I have teeth, or a toothbrush, or running water, because my friends, there's people that don't. I got out of bed this morning. There's so many things to be grateful for that people don't focus on. And when you do, it changes the game. It literally changes the game.
Just waking up in the morning. Like,
I woke up on the right side of the dirt. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because there are some people that didn't.
There are lots. All right, guys. With that said, Joe, how do people reach out to you?
Instagram is probably the best. Ruck On Ventures, Instagram, Facebook. Those are the 2 places that I'm most active. So
fantastic. Sounds great. Joe, thank you for being on. As I always say, time is the most precious resource we have as human beings. Thank you for spending some time with us, dropping some knowledge, some thoughts, and some things to help veterans and their families get further faster. Really appreciate you, man.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And on that note, we're out of here.
Thank you for joining us on another insightful journey of Your Thoughts, Your Reality podcast with your host, Michael Cole. We hope the conversation sparked some thoughts that resonate with you. To dive deeper into empowering your thoughts and enhancing your reality, visit empowerperformancestrategies.com. Remember, your thoughts shape your reality, so make them count. Until next time, stay inspired and keep creating the reality you desire. Catch you on the next episode.